さて、19番目になります。残すところあと2チーム。甲南高等学校、チーム名が We Are the Challengers、そして、プレゼンテーションのタイトルが Why Don't We Volunteer? どうぞ。
Good afternoon, everyone.
We are the challengers
from Conan High School. Today, we would like to talk about 3 serious educational problems that we came across during a time volunteering in a lot of elementary schools in Asia in Hyogo. We conducted extensive research into local government policies and local boards of education within the Hyogo area. We believe we have identified 3 significant issues which need to be fixed in order to better serve the immigrant communities in Hyogo and improve education overall in Japan. Everyone should have a better understanding of what's happening within the modern society and the problems that exist. Most importantly, the younger generation, including us, should learn what sustainable development goals are and contribute to the compilation of these goals, especially number 4, quality education, and number 11, sustainable cities and communities. We would like to share our observation and solution regarding these 2 goals. Let me ask you a question for everyone. Have you ever thought that a current high school student are way too immature or inexperienced to join in a volunteer activities like adults do? We do not definitely think so. We are positive that there's a misconception that a current high school student are unable to achieve the same result as adults. However, the evidence proves this bias is incorrect. We believe that a high schooler can be a huge part of solving various community problems, especially in regards to helping immigrants and their children.
I would like to share 3 educational problems that we observed. The first problem is the inadequate level of high-quality education for immigrants. According to the Ministry of Justice, the number of immigrants from Asian countries, especially China and Vietnam, has increased in Japan every year. However, good educational environment for immigrants is getting smaller than ever before, even though it is essential to provide them with satisfactory education, such as in Japanese language teaching. The Japanese boards of education do not want to confront the local problem, even though they are aware of this problem. As you can see from this graph, the number of students unable to speak Japanese has increasing. This graph shows the number of students unable to speak Japanese has increasing by around 11,000 over 8 years. They really want to learn how to speak Japanese, but they do not know how to study Japanese effectively. The second problem is the rate of immigrants enrollment in senior high school has decreased. According to the Ministry of Education, please look at this graph. About 98% of Japanese junior high school students are capable of going to senior high school. On the other hand, even though the number of immigrants has increased, only 50% of current immigrants are able to go to local high schools. A few reasons for this. One is the inadequate education, especially in the Japanese language and the academic subject. Second is an unacceptable learning environment. Third is a troubled family background. If they are from developing countries, they might have many problems with adapting to Japanese society and school system.
The final problem is the shortage of volunteers of both young adults and high school students. According to the Ministry of Education, the number of young adults, especially middle-aged volunteers, has decreased every single year, as you can see from this graph. Specifically, our research shows that mature adults tend to think our permanent pay job is more crucial than volunteering, even though so many people in unanimous agreement that volunteering is more important and necessary to society, since it provides a precious opportunity to get involved in outside people often close social circles. In addition, a study by Ms. Joan Fitz, who is the expert on non-profit organization and philanthropy, were able to find out what the volunteers want. The points from study can be summed up with the word givers, especially G, personal growth and well-being, and R, recognition. In order to help achieve the SDGs goals, number 4 and 11, we believe increasing the number of volunteers and thus increasing immigrant support is very important. In our experiences, we believe that high school students are very much capable of aiding a society. In fact, they might be the most significant source of community support and the key to solving these problems. Gan and I currently volunteer at elementary school with the members of Kids Square, which is a project run by Asia Board of Education. And we observed the elementary school student responded more positively and honestly towards the high school volunteers compared to how they act towards adults. High school volunteers were able to better empathize with the children, which made the children even more excited to learn. Elementary school students overwhelmingly felt that making connection with the high school volunteers were absolutely exciting opportunity to create unforgettable memories and felt their time working together was of great benefit to them. In addition, the volunteers' well-being was also impacted positively by the expression of gratitude. This same effect was also observed by Harvard Medical School study, where it was found that adults who usually volunteer were measurably healthier than those who did not. We also volunteer at KFC, which stands for Kobe Foreigner Friendship Center, which is a non-profit organization whose aim is to create a more culturally diverse society by helping immigrants from other Asian countries and use volunteers to help integrate the foreigner into the Japanese society and school system. However, one of the chronic problems is the lack of volunteers. We have two solutions in order to increase the number of volunteers. First solution is increase awareness, which means we are going to give a presentation to the specific high school in order to motivate a high school student to join in volunteer activities. In fact, at the Kobe Volunteer Summit, we got a wonderful opportunity to deliver a presentation about the detail of our volunteer activities with a lot of high school students and with a lot of high school teachers. Second solution is easier accessibility. And as also easier accessibility. To do this, we are creating our own website, which is accessible and open for 24/7 with the detailed and helpful information. In fact, we have already created our new account, which is on Instagram, with the detailed and helpful information. Although it just started to increase the number of followers, approximately 1 to 10 people have already discovered exactly what we are doing in a local community. We strongly believe it will be a massive influence towards not only adults, but also high school students. We also have an idea, which seems really hard to create without any collaboration or support. It is volunteer grants, as also known as dollars for dollar grants, which means encourage employees to get involved in community service. More specifically, a company gives the money to non-profit organization based on how many hours its employee volunteers. In a famous example, American department store, which is called Macy's, gave $250 grants to the school where employees volunteer for at least 15 hours. So last, but definitely not least,
This is urgent. We need your help.
and if you do not do anything, problem will get worse. Be part of solution and volunteer. So, why not sign up and volunteer today? Thank you for listening.
はい、ありがとうございました。それではご質問どうぞ。
So thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. So I was inspired by your work to recruit lots of volunteers to maintain your activity. So I think so there are many other ways instead of recruiting volunteers to continue your activities, such as offering an online lesson instead of offering a live lesson to students. So can you think of other alternatives instead of recruiting lots of volunteers for future education?
Can I say again? Can I say again? Sorry.
Yes, I think recruiting a volunteer is one of the ways to solve your problem you are facing right now. But in terms of education, in terms of offering education to young people, I think there are many other ways. What kind of other ways can you think about?
Oh, as I mentioned, the ways recruit people to join in the volunteer activities, and giving the presentation to the high school in person. A face-to-face meetings helps build a relationship with the other more closely and more deeply. So just one of the ways are giving the presentation to the other, and other ways making a poster and then put on the wall at school and just let everyone know volunteerism is very important or something.
Thank you. So I just want to say that using the latest technology, maybe you might
Oh.
have a lot of solutions
Oh.
you can come up with. So for future education, such as like edutech, and so can you think of other solutions instead of like recruiting more volunteers?
Oh, well.
Perhaps the Saito sensei can later give them advice.
Others, okay. So now
this
we
is-
have two solutions, right?
Yeah.
And then like other solutions that are first thing that are pop into my mind is maybe okay. First of all, like increasing a number of like immigrants in Japan is not a problem, and I think increasing a number of like immigrants who cannot speak Japanese fluently that's I think problems because they cannot even get a job in Japan. They cannot speak Japanese, and then they might be like struggling with understanding of Japanese. So maybe if we find that like they're foreigner like in the city or something, and maybe just try to have a conversation with them and just show them a way, or maybe talk to them in Japanese. That's a best way of like for them to learning Japanese. So maybe that's, and then have a conversation and just talk about a little bit about volunteering. And then we volunteer like almost every single day, and that's make the foreigner to like join in volunteer activities like with us. So it's just communicating with the others. That's the best way of like the other solution to join in volunteer activities.
Okay, thank you.
はい、ありがとうございました。はい、吉田先生どうぞ。
Okay, I agree with the importance of volunteering and helping the foreign children, especially, to get accustomed to the Japanese language and the Japanese society. But you were giving data at the very beginning about the lack of Japanese language training of these immigrant children, and the lack of language training is especially imminent in the area of reading and writing. So you were talking right now about communication, talking to them, oral communication basically. Are you doing anything to help the children to read and write Japanese as well?
We actually do that kind of like a volunteer at the KFC. Basically, a KFC is like teaching like Japanese, like hit the book and then like math or Japanese or like science in Japanese. They might be struggling, right? They don't like speak Japanese, and then just we are going there as a volunteer and help them to make them understand like more and more. If there's some like the material is very difficult, like for like a foreigner, maybe like so they might be struggling, and just they're studying in front of us, and then just if they don't understand, if they do have a question, they can ask us like for a question, and they can answer, and then that's a studying together. So maybe studying together, and so not only just having a conversation, we actually like volunteer at the KFC and just do kind of like I don't know, academic thing, maybe, yeah.
Okay, thank
はい
you.
ありがとう
Thank
ご
you.
ざいました。江南高校の皆さんありがとうございました。